how do you get rust on stucco? I'm not quite sure how that happens. I know you get rust here. There's a metal trim piece here that goes pretty wide for the stucco to hit on to make a straight corner, and the stucco's missing a little bit right here, so the rust is just bleeding through that corner. And I'm curious to see how well that other stuff's going to work to patch, because see, like this hairline crack, see right in there, there's a crack there, there's a crack here. You remember this was the column that I had to tear everything out of it, and because it was all dry rotted, and I think it was because the dry rot got in through the floor, and then as it just kept going, it just started eating up, and corroded the whole thing down. I don't really think it's because of little hairline cracks like this, but we'll see, because I was curious if there was any paint in there, and I'm hoping there's some other paint that I have where I can put that big stretch, that stucco or that caulking on there, wipe it all off as best I can, and then get some paint to paint over it. See, it looks like they try to do a little patch right in there. See, I mean, a patch is a patch is a patch with stucco, and I'll just have to see what's happening. I can kind of see where it looks like they might have patched something right in there. And see, look at this, look at the stucco down here. See that? It's bulged out, and when this column gets water on it, all the way up there, when it rains, the water comes down here. Guess where the water goes? It finds any little hairline crack. There's one right there. See, right there. Here's another one. There's a bulge right there. That crack kind of goes that way. And that's a nasty crack there, down there. Anywhere where water can go, it will. And so I'm going to take a little bit extra time and see on all these paints what kind of stuff I can use for patching and that kind of thing. See, here's this column here. I really wasn't going to do anything, but see that? Look at that, how I push on that. That's above where the tile is. If the tile goes in here, theory has it that I could probably patch this after I get the floor down. There's another long line. And remember, I have to patch. Oh yeah, that's right. I have to patch this a little bit too, because this is kind of right in between where the tile is. So it's like I probably should do that kind of stuff before I put the concrete pavers down, because if I put the concrete pavers down, then it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to make this patch just from here down to the top of concrete paver. It'd be easier to do this whole thing first, I would think, and then I can paint it, get the same stuff on there. And that's why I think this stuff is going to be it. And I saw this too. It said save for touch up, and that was heavy. And I'm like, Tyvek, or not Tyvek, what was this? This was USG exterior textured finish. I think this is supposed to be like I thought this was like sheetrock mud. And I guess you can get this exterior USG exterior textured finish, and I guess they put a color in it, because when I opened that, it looked just like the stucco. And then this looks like the same stuff. And this is just a different, this says Dryvit, and it's like stucco stuff again. So I'm curious why there's two different ones, because on the stucco there's only one stucco color to the house. And I'm thinking it's the same bit for both things. So I'm going to use that and do some test areas on the walls before I finalize my patches, because I think it's going to be a lot easier to do all this kind of stuff, and the very last thing to do is to put the actual flooring down, the very last thing. Okay, don't get all gung-ho and say, okay, I'm this far, let's go ahead and finish the floor and we'll deal with everything else later. I don't think so. Okay, so that's what's on my agenda right now. Now let's talk about this flashing really quick. This flashing, I went ahead and saved it, and I spent quite a bit of time prepping it. It was kind of rusty. It had I don't know, some remnants of mold on it, rust on it, and all kinds of stuff. And after I prepped it, I put the wire brushes to it, and that was why I put 2 coats of primer on here, was so that everything else will stick to this. My roofing material will stick to this. My paint that I'm going to put on here is going to stick to it. You might think, hey, Joe, why didn't you just go and buy some new stuff? Well, I guess I could have. First off, I wasn't sure where to get this flashing. I could have spent some time and effort investigating that and getting it, locating it somewhere in town, coming back out here and cutting it and getting it ready. But then even at that point, this would have been galvanized. It would have been kind of greasy. I would have had to have cleaned that with some vinegar and water solution and then etched it a little bit so that I could put the primer on. And I'd still have to drill holes in it, you know, like the holes that were in here before. This gives me an idea of how far apart the holes were. I'm gonna re-drill out the holes and make them a little bit bigger. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna save this, and I'm gonna put it back in there. I know it's gonna fit, and I don't want anything else that doesn't match this existing, because if the other stuff doesn't have a little return lip on it like that, it's not gonna match, and it's not gonna be as strong as this, or it's just not gonna look right. I wanted everything to match up, because right here at the stairs, when you come walking up the stairs, you're going to see those 2 pieces there, and you're going to see these 2 pieces over here. So I wanted them to be fairly close to looking the same, you know, with the same little return here, the same height on them, and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I spent a little bit of extra time getting my flashings ready, and that's why I decided not to buy any new. But hey, you beat the judge. If your stuff is really super old and it's all rusty and it's falling apart and it's got all kinds of stuff on it, and you don't want to take the time and effort to make it right, take a little piece of it with you, drive around. Most hardware stores and home stores probably won't have this flashing. You may have to go to a roofing company to find it. You may have to go to a place that carries stucco, like a place that sells commercial drywall. They might have flashings like this, or probably like a roofing. I'd say a roofing company who sells shingles and flashings and that kind of stuff. Or ask around. If they don't have it, just say, hey, do you know who would have it? And go from there. So I'm like, okay, where do I start? What do I do first? Well, you know, working strategically and in order is something that you want to think about too. And before I start opening up all this paint and the stucco material for patching and that kind of stuff, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix up the rest of my Durham's rock hard water putty, and I'm going to put that in all the different areas where I think it needs, because in some of those places I'm going to need to put a second coat on, And I just want to go ahead and do all that stuff. That way that stuff can be drying. In case I decide if I have enough time to paint today, I'll finish my primer, and I've got to put 2 coats of that rock hard water putty here, at least 2 coats. Before I prime that, I want to put 2 coats of primer on there.